Hi everyone, it's Kim here again. Today we'll be talking about self-care. So look, I know as a parent, sometimes you can think, look, if I just look after everybody else, then everything will be okay. But have you ever heard that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup? Well, it's true, and I'm sure you already know that. Okay, look, I remember someone talking to me once and talking about self-care, and I was thinking, yeah, I know this. But the difference between knowing something and actually doing something are actually worlds apart. Okay, so what's going to make you feel different is if you are practicing self-care. Okay, so look, I often hear that, look, I'm so busy looking after everybody else, I haven't got time to look after myself. And that feels like the reality, I know. The thing is that if we don't look after ourselves, then something eventually gives, whether it's our physical health, our mental health, or our emotional health, and then you and everybody else suffers. So there's a bit of prevention, I suppose, and helping you to feel as good as possible every single day. Okay, so if you're going through each day and you've got those feelings of irritability and anger, exasperation, impatience, and not so much feeling love and connection with yourself, your partner, or your child, just it's time to stop now and look at what you can do to help you to feel better. Okay, I know everyone's tired. You know that sleep deprivation when you're a new parent is really, really hard. So that's actually the times when you actually need more self-care, okay, so that you do feel better. All right. So many parents have experienced the feelings that I was just talking about. And certainly if you've got an unsettled baby or a baby that's unwell, we've all experienced a tough day. And that's a very tough day when you do have a baby who's unsettled or unwell in any way. So, you know, what parents often find useful is meeting up with other parents so they don't feel quite so isolated. So, and oftentimes you'll find people that you may resonate with and feel that there's a connection you can share with them and they can share with you. And it actually makes you feel better as a parent to know that, oh, okay, this is happening for other people as well, or potentially it can. Okay, so ways of meeting other people could be through your local church group, a play group, a carers group, a walking group, any sort of group that you like. Of course, it's great to meet people who have similar interests, and your similar interest at this stage could be that you're at a stage in life where you have a brand new baby or a toddler. Okay, so righty-o. So if you do have feelings that are not so loving and you're not feeling so much connection with yourself or with anyone else at all, then just please speak to your partner, a friend, your GP, your child health nurse, or ring the state that you live in Child Health Services hotline, and they'll be able to give you some information. If you haven't looked at the postnatal depression video, postnatal depression and anxiety video, just go back and look at that after you finish this this session on self-care, because there might be some other, there is other information in there that may help you. Okay, so we'll start with what self-care is. Okay, so self-care is something that you intentionally do every day that helps you feel better physically, emotionally, and mentally. And so, and overall, it does help you feel better. Okay, or it helps you fill your emotional cup, and that is actually that can protect you in times of great stress. So keeping your emotional cup topped up. Okay, the most nourishing things you can do are obviously things that you enjoy to do. Okay, so what I'd love you to do now is just to take a moment and just think about things that you like to do, and just tap into how those things make you feel. Okay, if you're currently doing the things that you're enjoying, great. But if you're thinking about things that you really enjoy, even just little things to start with, but you're not doing them, just maybe just try to add one little thing each time or each day or each week or something like that. It could be something as simple as just stopping for a minute and breathing deeply into your stomach, okay? And just stopping and taking time, just a minute to start with, and then gradually building up the length of time or the amount of times that you do that in the day can be really centering and just bring you back to feeling a bit more peaceful than you did before. It's kind of like the start of meditation or just breathing, and breathing is such a wonderful thing. There are so many studies on breathing and how it affects the brain, which are really, really helpful things. Okay, So let's just go through a few of the things that we all know, or we may or may not know, are really helpful in self-care. So there's lots of research that talks about doing some exercise, and that this actually helps you physically and mentally. And it can boost your mood and reduce anxiety, which is really important because, having a new baby can be really joyful, but it can also be a really stressful time. Yeah. So, even just feeling the warmth or the coolness of the fresh air on your face, going outside and feeling the sunlight and just being present in that moment of time can also be a really, really good thing to do and just give you a little bit of nurturing. Okay? So if you love going to the gym or doing a group fitness class, then just have a look, just have a think about how you can make that happen when you're ready to go. Okay? Now I can hear some of you say, all I want to do is sleep, and I can totally relate to that. And what we find is, or the researchers have found, is that self-care actually promotes a more restful sleep when you can sleep. Okay, so I suppose it's like you're able to settle and wind back much more quickly because it helps with anxiety too. So, okay, one of the other topics that's talked about in self-care and mindfulness is that practice of the practice of practicing gratitude. Okay. So there are studies that show that gratitude and self-care promote feelings of happiness and decrease anxiety and depression. And they help with self-esteem and confidence, which can be really, really important when you're a new parent. You've gone from being, an expert in your field, and then all of a sudden you've got a baby and you think, oh gosh, I've got this baby and I just wish I had the instruction book. So, anything that helps promote those feelings of self-esteem and confidence has to be a wonderful thing to do. So there are a few ways that you can practice gratitude. You could just, stop and think, well, what are 3 things that I'm grateful for? It doesn't have to be big things. It could be I'm grateful for the blue sky, I'm grateful that baby had a sleep this morning, or the baby's resting now. It could be anything. It could be, I'm grateful that I had a shower this morning, that sort of thing. So the other thing you can do is that you could start a gratitude journal. Okay, on your phone or on paper, it doesn't really matter. And you just write something that, you write down what you're grateful for and why you're grateful. Okay, so, and you can find that that can have a really big impact on how you feel and how your day progresses from there. Okay, so we all know that eating healthy and drinking enough water is really important. So, but it's really easy when you're sleep deprived just to grab something that's sugar loaded or caffeine loaded because you're actually looking for energy because you feel so tired. And I think all of us have done that. So just know that by eating, your fresh fruit and vegetables, your meat, chicken, fish, your healthy grains and that sort of stuff that you choose, it's going to and drink enough water, it's going to give you a more sustained energy throughout the day, and you'll just feel better. And we all know by now that gut health is actually linked to mental health and how we feel. So if you can do that, that'd be great. I'm not suggesting or saying that you don't ever have anything that's and not so healthy or have a coffee or whatever. You certainly do that, but just the majority of the time, just try to make healthier choices. Okay, and you might think this is, you might think, oh, this is not rocket science, and it's not. But sometimes it's hard to do the little things, and it's these little things that will make so much difference. Okay, so rightio. So over the course of our lives, we've actually learnt so many things. So we know that we have the capacity to learn, and mothering and parenting, sometimes you can get really caught up in your head and think, oh, I don't know this, I don't know that. But parents are the only people who have a true connection and intuition related to their child. So just remember that about you and your baby. And it's really important that you do remember, because positive self-talk can actually affect the way you feel. So if you can speak to yourself in a really loving manner, that would be really good. There are studies done on parental self-efficacy, and they show that once parents have conviction and belief in their own abilities, the quality of the parenting experience can be optimised, and the role of being a parent can become as pleasurable as possible. So it's really good to know that, okay? A few other things that you may find helpful around sleep or rest for yourself and self-care is things like healthy sleep habits. So they say not to have any caffeine or any screen time for at least an hour before you go to sleep. I know that some people can't drink coffee at all because it really heightens their awareness and they find it difficult to sleep anytime. Some people know that they have a coffee after 3 that it affects their sleep. So that's a recommendation around coffee and screen time or caffeine and screen time. So a really important thing is to learn how to say no, okay? So we go through our lives wanting to please everybody oftentimes, and it gets to a stage, particularly when you have a new child, a new baby or a toddler, that you just actually need to focus on yourself and learn how to say no with kindness, because it's a matter of looking after you first, okay? If you've got pets, then spend some time with them. It's not just for them, it can be really beneficial for you. That unconditional love that you get from animals is just amazing, and it's really good for helping you to feel better, okay, and giving you a bit of nourishment, okay? People, you choose whatever you like to do for self-care, things that you enjoy. So it might be reading a good book or listening to music. The other thing that's recommended is to get organised, okay, which is hard with a new baby. So what we're talking about is getting organised the night before, if you can, so that when you get up the next day, everything's pretty ready to go and leave the house whenever you want to, okay. And if you've got other children, you may already do that. So because it can be really busy when you're trying to get out of the house in the morning, or other people are trying to get out of the house, off to school, off to work, that sort of thing. So I know it can. So, and the other thing is to plan ahead a little bit, maybe what you're going to do the night before for the next day. And I understand completely that it actually depends on the night that you have with the baby. And sometimes it can be really frustrating if you do plan to do something and then you have a rough night and you can't do it. And that just happens in life. And if you can just learn to roll with that, that would be great. Just do the doable on those days. That would be really, really good. Okay. All right, they also talk about just creating an area where you keep your keys and your bags and whatever you need to go the next day, your phone, so that it's all in one place ready to go, so you don't have to think about where it is the next day. Another thing that's talked about is keeping a journal, okay, sometimes, and just writing down how you feel, because sometimes what can happen is you just start to write and something will show up, and it can help you process that. Or if something shows up that you think, oh, I need some help with this, then you can reach out for help, to your friends, your family, the GP, the child health nurse, the psychologist, any of those people. Okay, rightio. So taking care of yourself is something that can be really overlooked when you've got a brand new person to look after and to care for, but it's something that's so important because it can actually make you feel better, but it also boosts your health, all right? So remember to reach out for help when you need it. Remember that Lifeline and Parent Line are 24-hour services 7 days a week. So reach out, call them if you need to. As I said before, the Child Health Services hotline in each state will also be able to help you if you need help. And in the postnatal depression and anxiety section, there are also other services there that can tell you where you can access support as well. Even if you live remotely, you can still do that. Okay. So what I'd get you to do is also just to check in with yourself, okay, and just think, if my best friend told me that they were feeling the way I do right now, what would I tell her or him? Okay, be kind to yourself, really listen and feel into what you say to your best friend and be your own best friend. So by looking after you every day, you can reap the benefits and find more ways to enjoy this great time, or this time of great change in your life. So look after you. And as I said, if you haven't watched the video on postnatal anxiety and depression, just go back now and just have the best day you can. All right, thanks so much for listening. Bye.